Okay, so now that we've set up our key and submitted our APK to Google Play, we're going to see how to do a similar thing for submitting to the iOS App Store. So just like with Android, we need to create a key, and like with Android, we'll need to pay some money to do that as well. Apple charge $99 a year to be part of their developer program, and you will need to pay that if you want to put your apps on the App Store. So assuming you want to do that, we start at the iOS provisioning portal, which allows us to provision our apps for iOS. So do a quick Google for that and then click there. If you're not already signed in, then you'll be asked to sign in there. And if you're not already a registered developer, you'll need to create an account and pay the $99. But once you've gone through that process, you'll get to this page and you'll need to click Certificates. Then click Plus to create a new certificate. And we want an App Store production certificate to put it on the App Store. And then click Continue. And then we'll need a CSR file. Now you can create these on a PC, but it's a very complex process and I wouldn't recommend it. Essentially, if you want to be developing iOS apps, even HTML-based ones, I'd strongly recommend getting a Mac. It makes your life a lot easier. So here I'm only going to show you the instructions on a Mac. But if you Google something like create iOS provisioning profile on a PC, you will get instructions on how to do it. But I'll warn you, it's not fun. So we can follow the instructions here though. We need the keychain access app. So I've just used Command Space to get Spotlight up and then start typing keychain access. And that will give you a bunch of keys that are stored on your device. And as you can see here, we want keychain access, certificate assistant, request a certificate from a certificate authority. So let's do that. Keychain access, certificate assistant, request certificate from a certificate authority. And then you can put in your email address there, common name and email address again. And I'd recommend using save to disk here, but you can email it to yourself if you prefer. And I'm going to leave the specify key pair information blank. And then we can just save it right there on the desktop. That will then save the certificate request. So click done, go back over to the Apple developer site, then click continue, and then choose file, and we'll choose the file that we just created. Click open, and then generate, and then download. So now we've created an iOS distribution certificate. Now we need to create our provisioning profile. So I'm going to hold down above the back button and go back to certificates, identifiers, and profiles. And that will take me to here. And this time I want to go to provisioning profiles. And once again, I want to create a new one. And this is going to be an App Store distribution certificate. So click continue. And we need to have an app ID to be able to create a provisioning profile. So I'm just going to control click on app IDs over here and open that up in a new tab. And then we're going to create a new app ID. And I'll just call it email app by Rob again. And here we need to specify the app ID. Now we set this up in the previous video when we were setting things up for Android. It's the same as the package name there. So com.codestars. Whatever you want to call your app. That's our bundle ID. And then we don't need any of these special services, but if you did, you could select them there. And then continue and submit. That then creates our app ID. So we'll click done. And now we go back over to our provisioning profile page, refresh that. And let's just select that again. Distribution App Store. And we should now be able to select, there we go, email app by Rob. continue, and then you should choose the certificate that we just created. So for me, that's this one. It will last for a year. And then continue, add a profile name. I'm just going to use the app name there, and then generate. There we go. And then we can download that provisioning profile. Lovely, nearly there. We now need the certificate and key bundle, which we create in Keychain Access. And we do that by clicking File and Import Items. And then we import the certificate that we've just created. And you should be able to find it by its expiry date. So 1st of March 2017 for me. And then we control click on that and export. So finally, we can save that as our P12 file on the desktop as well. And again, enter a nice password that you'll remember but will not be easily guessable to protect that. And then I'm just going to enter my machine password. So we now have all the files that we need to upload to PhoneGap Build. So we scroll back up, click on our profile at the top there and edit account. And then we click signing keys. And just as we did with Android, we're going to add a key for iOS. So title, I'll just put the name of the app. So email app, in fact, email app key, why not? And then we need the P12 file. There it is. And we need the provisioning profile as well. So that's the .mobile provision file. Okay, submit those keys. And once again, we're going to need to unlock them. So you put in the password that you entered for the certificate. And then if that works, it should be unlocked. Then we go back to apps. And just as we did for Android, we click on the app name and we select our iOS key. And we wait and hope that this is all going to work and that we'll be able to download our file. And there it is. Wonderful. So instead of an APK, we get an IPA file for working with iOS. So I'm going to download that again to my desktop. Now all that remains is to submit our app to the App Store. So let's open up a new tab to do that. And we do that in an Apple website called iTunes Connect. So itunesconnect.apple.com. And again, you'll need to have a paid developer account to be able to access this. But if you've got one, you should be able to get in here. And then we're just going to create a new app on iTunes Connect and upload the file that we've just downloaded. So let's go over to My Apps and then plus to create a new app. So again, I'll call it Email App by Rob. Bundle ID, we should be able to choose the bundle ID because we've already created it. There it is, Email App by Rob. Primary language, English. And then the SKU here is the app ID. So we'll select that again so we don't make any mistakes. And then, don't forget to select iOS and then click Create. Here we go. So as with Android, there's a bunch of information that you should fill in about your app there, and you can click Features and you can select pricing and availability information there as well. But the bit that we're interested in is the Prepare for Submission. And here is again where you'll put your screenshots, description, keywords, etc., etc. But the main thing for us is the build. So you'd normally use Xcode if you were making a native app, but we're going to use Application Loader 3.0. So that will download the Application Loader app to your computer, which is what we'll use to upload the IPA file that PhoneGap Build created for us. And once that's done, open up the downloaded file, which will install Application Loader for us. Double click on Application Loader.package, install, enter your password, and this will then go through the installation process for the application loader. There we go. So close that down, and then I'm going to use Command Space to open up Spotlight, and then we should find Application Loader in Applications. Agree to the terms and conditions, put in your Apple ID and password. You can keep yourself signed in, and then this will sign you into iTunes Connect, and we want to deliver our app. So let's choose that. Then we select our IPA file that we downloaded, and then it will link that to the application by the SKU, that is the com.codestars.email client by Rob in my case. So then click Next, and then it will upload to iTunes Connect for us. Once again, keep your fingers crossed. And then we have some warnings there, but that should be okay. We can add the icon files in iTunes Connect. So just click Next, and then Done. And then if we refresh the page here, we should see the app as being uploaded, although it can take a little while. So we might not be able to see that here. No, we don't have the build quite yet, but that can take an hour. So from here, it's just a matter of adding your screenshots, descriptions, etc., and then submitting for review. It usually takes about 10 days for your first app to get reviewed, and with any luck, you'll be successful and you'll be on the App Store. I've now waited about 10 minutes and I received an email from iTunes Connect saying that the processing has completed. And if we now scroll down to build, you can see it says select a build before you submit your app, and then you can choose that build that was uploaded. Obviously, we'd want to update the icon there and click done, and that's your build. So from there, it really is just a matter of filling in the various images and description, etc., before submitting your app for review. So congratulations if you've managed to follow along and create all of the various different provisioning profiles and certificates. And that brings us to the end of this section. So you now know how to make both front-end and back-end sections for a mobile app, as well as how to package that as HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files, and then use PhoneGap Build to repackage it again for all the different app stores. And I've shown you specifically how to work with iOS and Android. The processes for the other app stores are fairly straightforward as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this section. Now go off and make the next viral app.